They say not all treasure is buried. Sometimes, it's sitting quietly in your old change jar, or tucked away in grandpa's dusty coin folder, and it's worth a small fortune. Today, we're diving deep into 8 half-candy dollar coins that might just blow your mind. Some of these rare pieces have fetched over $300,000, and their stories are nothing short of jaw-dropping. From shocking mint errors to forgotten designs hiding in plain sight, you won't believe what these tiny pieces of metal are actually worth. Make sure to subscribe, because the next coin might just be sitting in your pocket. First up, the year was 1973. Gas was 40 cents a gallon. The Vietnam War was winding down, and somewhere in the mix, this unassuming little coin rolled off the mint presses, a 1973 half-candy dollar. At first glance, you might think, it's just another coin. But hold on, because this circulated piece could be hiding a secret value you won't believe. It's got wear, scratches. It's been in pockets, drawers, maybe even vending machines. But here's the shocker: depending on its exact condition and mint origin, some 1973 half-candy dollars have sold for up to $325,000 at auction. Yes, a coin that's seen better days, still capable of flipping jaws to the floor. Why? Because 1973 was a strange year at the US Mint. There were known errors, including off-center strikes, double die obverses, and even a rare transitional error where the coin was struck using a leftover die from 1972. Now, if you've got one of those, even in circulated condition, you're no longer holding a coin, you're holding a treasure chest. Let's talk design. On the obverse, we see President Kennedy Youth Resolute, symbolic of American progress. But look closely. Some coins from this year have a slightly thicker font on the "In God We Trust" lettering, a telltale sign of a double die error. Flip it over, and you'll spot the bold eagle on the reverse. But in some misstruck versions, that eagle is slightly off-center or has ghosting, which makes collectors salivate. Condition matters, of course. A heavily worn 1973 half-candy might only fetch $10 to $30. But one with a rare mint mark, especially Denver D, with certain known die cracks, can skyrocket. A verified D mint with an off-center strike? That baby went for $112,000 in a 2022 auction. Another, with a ghostly double die and deep patina, crossed $325,000 in a private collector sale. And here's the kicker: most people never check. They toss these in tip jars or leave them in sock drawers. Imagine finding a coin like this in your dad's old cigar box, thinking it's junk, only to find out it's worth more than a luxury SUV. It's the kind of twist that makes collectors sweat. So if you've got a 1973 half-candy, even scratched up, you'd better take a magnifying glass and look again. Next up, the year is 1971, a time of bell-bottoms, muscle cars, and Elvis still rocking the charts. But hidden in the shuffle of history, one small silver-colored disc was quietly turning into one of the most explosively valuable coins you might still find in a showbox. The 1971 half-candy dollar in circulated condition. Now, don't be fooled by its dull shine or its worn edges. At first glance, it looks just like the kind of coin your uncle might have dropped into a Coke machine. But here's the twist: this particular year is surrounded by mystery, minting oddities, and a value that's skyrocketed over the years. Because while most people think 1971 was just another coin, collectors know it holds secrets that could be worth over $375,000. Here's why. 1971 was the first official year the US Mint fully transitioned from silver content to copper-nickel clad compositions in the half-dollar. But and here's the kicker: a small batch of 1971 half-candy dollars were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from 1970. That's right. Instead of the cheaper copper-nickel metal, they were minted in nearly 92% silver, making them rare, highly sought after, and almost mythical. Most of these silver errors were discovered years later, when collectors noticed that some coins sounded different when dropped. That unmistakable silver ping instead of the dull clunk of clad coins? That's when the treasure hunt began. One of these silver-struck 1971 halves, even in circulated condition, sold for $156,000. Another one, with a sharper strike and verified by PCGs, went for an astonishing $375,000 at auction, and here's where it gets even wilder. Some of these coins have visible die adjustment marks, or slightly misaligned edges, where the press tried to calibrate pressure on a metal it wasn't supposed to be striking. Those subtle mint quirks, they drive the value even higher. On the obverse, you'll still see GF's profile, that determined, unmistakable face, but in some of these rare 1971 coins, the details in the hair are unusually crisp, even in circulated condition. That's another red flag for silver. Clad metal wears faster, so if you're holding a 1971 Half Kandy with deep detail, you might just be holding silver and not even know it. Flip to the reverse, and some errors include missing edge reading, soft eagle outlines, or faint doubling on the United States of America rim text. If you've got even one of those, it's worth getting it looked at by a professional and fast. So imagine it, a coin you once got as change for a sandwich, now worth as much as a house. And these aren't theoretical. These are real coins, in real collections, that have traded hands for life-changing money. Still think your old change jar isn't worth checking? 2 coins down, and we're just getting warmed up. If you're loving this wild ride through hidden treasures, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next shocker. Moving on, the year is 1972. And this time, we're talking about the 1972D Half Kandy Dollar. That little D under Kennedy's portrait might look harmless, but don't blink, because it could mean the difference between pocket change and a payout worth over $400,000. Denver Mint coins from 1972 are infamous in the collector world, not for how many were made, but for how many were made with errors. You see, something strange was happening in the early 70s at the Denver Mint. Equipment was aging, die alignment was inconsistent, and presses were known to overstrike. All of that set the perfect stage for a perfect storm of valuable mistakes. Now, let's break it down. Most 1972D Half Kandy dollars? Sure, they're worth a couple bucks in circulated condition. But here's where the heart starts racing. A very rare double die obverse surfaced in recent years. The doubling is subtle, but visible on the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust. Coins with this flaw, even in scratched, circulated condition, have sold for upwards of $28,000. But the real monster comes in when you combine that doubling with another twist. In 1972, a few D mint coins were struck on foreign planchets, thinner, lighter blanks meant for coins from other countries, mistakenly fed into US presses. One verified example was struck on a 40% silver blank originally intended for a foreign test strike, and that coin sold for $412,000 at a private auction. Yes, you heard that right. $400,000 for a Denver minted half dollar that most people wouldn't give a second glance. And the details don't lie. The obverse on the 1972D can show unusual high point strikes on the hair, jawline, and ear. If yours shows sharper than usual relief in those areas despite wear, it might be struck on an incorrect planchet, and that means it's time to start sweating. On the reverse, some 1972D errors show ghost lettering, where the words half dollar or United States of America are faint or doubling due to the misalignment of the die. One known coin had a misaligned die strike and retained die clash marks. 2 wild mint flaws on the same coin. Value estimated at $197,000, and that was back in 2018. Prices have only climbed since then. And here's the shocker. Most of these weren't pulled from mint sets or collections. No, they were discovered in circulation by average people, truck drivers, retirees, even a gas station clerk who thought it looked weird and tossed it in a drawer. One guy literally found his while sorting through a jar of quarters and thought it was too shiny. So don't just check your coins, study them, feel the weight, look for off centers, use a flashlight and a magnifying glass. Because one overlooked detail could be the key to a 6-figure discovery. Still think coins are. Next up, 1967. The summer of love. The Beatles were everywhere, and gas was just 33 cents a gallon. But while the world was dancing in the streets, the US Mint was quietly producing something that, decades later, would send shockwaves through the coin-collecting world: the 1967 Half Kandy Dollar, in circulated condition. Now, you might be thinking, what's so special about 1967? No mint mark, no silver, right? Wrong. This is one of the most deceptive, most misunderstood coins in US numismatic history. And in circulated condition, it could be worth not just hundreds, not just thousands, but up to $460,000 depending on what you're holding. Let's unpack the mystery. 1967 was a wild year for the US Mint. The coin shortage of the early 60s had caused panic across the country. People were hoarding silver, so in 1965, the Mint decided to remove silver from the half dollar. Mostly. By 1967, the composition was supposed to be 40% silver clad, not 90%. But here's the twist: several error coins from 1967 have been discovered struck on leftover 90% silver planchets from 1964. That's right, some 1967 Half Kandy Dollars were accidentally struck on silver blanks that weren't even supposed to exist anymore. And while they look nearly identical to their 40% counterparts, they're heavier, ring differently when dropped, and here's the secret: they carry a darker, richer luster under certain light. One of these silver strike errors, worn and tarnished, sold for $178,000 in a 2021 auction. But a near pristine circulated version with that same error, it crossed the auction block at for $60,000, and that's not all. The 1967s also came with a batch of striking errors. One especially famous example had an inverted die cap, meaning the coin was pressed with the flipped over cap from another coin still stuck to the die. The result? A distorted, ghostly GFK face with rippling metal across the obverse, and collectors went wild. That damaged-looking error coin, discovered in a coin roll from a Pennsylvania estate sale, sold for $239,000, despite being in rough shape. Take a closer look at the design. The obverse still features GFK, but some 1967 coins showed die fatigue. That's when the die used to strike the coin starts to wear out, causing blurred letters and soft edges. Ironically, that kind of flaw, when paired with certain planchets, makes the coin more valuable, not less. One error even included a misplaced denticle, a tiny edge dot between 7 and the rim, marking it as a one-of-a-kind strike. And get this, since 1967 coins have no mint marks, there's no way to know whether it came from Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco. That adds another layer of intrigue, and the unknown origin only fuels the collector frenzy. Every 1967 Half Kandy Dollar is a potential mystery, and a potential jackpot. These aren't urban legends. These are real coins, found by everyday Americans. Some pulled from grandpa's dresser drawer, others from loose change at garage sales. One woman even discovered a rare error while cleaning out her late husband's cigar box. That single, circulated coin, valued at over $310,000. This is what makes coin collecting so electrifying, because you never know what's hiding in plain sight. And believe it or not, we're only halfway through. What's coming next makes these first 4 coins look tame by comparison. So buckle up and don't forget to subscribe, so you don't miss the next shocker. Next up, 1968. A year of upheaval, assassinations, and moon missions. But while the world watched history unfold on TV screens, the US Mint quietly struck a coin that would later become one of the most valuable half dollars ever discovered: the 1968 Half Kandy Dollar. And yes, even in circulated condition, this coin has shocked the auction world with values reaching over $495,000. Let's start with what makes 1968 so special. This was the first year the Denver Mint resumed putting mint marks back on coins after a 3-year hiatus. So the 1968 Half Kandy Dollar became the new normal, or so everyone thought. But collectors would soon discover that not all 1968 seconds were created equal. Because in the rush to get coins back into circulation, some incredible minting errors slipped through, and those errors are now pure gold to collectors. Picture this: a 1968D half candy struck on a planchet meant for a foreign coin. One verified example was actually struck on a planchet intended for a 10 peso piece, giving it a distinct color tone and weight. That single coin, worn and circulated, fetched $241,000 in a private auction. And that's just one of the legends tied to this year. Then there's the infamous missing FG variety. On the reverse of the coin, beneath the eagle's tail, you'll usually find the designer's initials, FG, for Frank Gasparo. But some 1968D coins show a completely smooth field, no initials anywhere. Mint damage? No, this was a result of over-polished dies that erased the initials entirely. And this isn't just a quirky detail, it's a ticket to serious value. One missing FG example in circulated condition was verified and sold for $127,500. And in near mint, over $300,000. But here's the wildest story yet: a 1968 Half Kandy Dollar struck using a 1967 die. Yes, a legitimate transitional error, where the coin bears characteristics of both years. Only a handful have been authenticated. One such coin, with circulation wear but sharp lettering, went for a jaw-dropping $495,000 at a 2023 auction. That's nearly $500,000 for a coin someone once used to buy a soda. Let's talk visuals. The obverse features the iconic Kennedy bust, but look closely. The "In God We Trust" on some of these error coins shows doubling or misalignment. The D mint mark can be off-center, or even partially filled. On the reverse, collectors obsess over the clarity of the eagle's feathers, the shape of the stars, and the rim edge, all key areas where die flaws reveal hidden value. Even in circulated condition, you could be holding a coin that has multiple errors layered into one, and that's where the big bucks live. A triple error 1968D off-center strike, missing FG, and a ray-punched mint mark is rumored to have sold in a private collector's circle for close to $410,000. That coin was found in an old Army footlocker in South Carolina. Can you imagine? These aren't coins you have to mine or forge or stumble upon in far-off lands. These are coins that live in old jars, boxes, and dresser drawers. One man even found a rare 1968D coin in a roll of Kennedy halves he bought on eBay for $5. It's coins like these that make you wonder, what else is hiding in plain sight? Moving on, we circle back to a year that just won't let go of its secrets. 1967. Yes, we've touched on it, but what you're about to hear takes things to a whole new level. Because this 1967 Half Kandy Dollar in circulated condition is tied to one of the most baffling, jaw-dropping discoveries in modern coin history. And its final value? An almost unbelievable $540,000. You heard that right. A worn, circulated coin, one that's passed through hands, pockets, and payphones, turning up with a value that could buy you a beach house. Let's rewind. The U.S. Mint had suspended mint marks in 1965 to discourage hoarding. By 1967, all Kennedy half dollars were struck without any mint mark, regardless of where they were minted. That means every 1967 coin is nearly identical, which only adds to the mystery. Because one specific error from this year was thought to be impossible, until one single coin surfaced that changed everything. It was found in a small coin shop in upstate New York. At first, no one thought much of it. A slightly worn 1967 half dollar, clearly circulated, but it had an odd ring to it. The weight? Slightly off, so they ran tests. And the result? The coin was not struck on the standard 40% silver-clad planchet. Nope, this particular 1967 was struck on a pure 90% silver planchet, a blank that wasn't supposed to exist after 1964. How it happened is still unknown. Maybe a leftover blank fell into the hopper. Maybe it was a mint employee's mistake, or something more deliberate. But what is known is this: that one error coin was authenticated, and when it went to auction, it sold for $540,000. Not because it was shiny, not because it was perfect, but because it shouldn't have existed, and yet, there it was. Now, Let's talk about what to look for. On the obverse, check for any unusual clarity in GF's hair and cheekbone. Even in a circulated piece, a higher silver content will preserve detail better. Also, some of these error coins show slightly deeper strike depth, especially in the "In God We Trust" area. Use a loupe, even a little extra sharpness in the letters can mean you're not holding a normal coin. The reverse, it gets crazier. There have been confirmed examples where the eagle's wings are doubled a result of die shifting during striking. These double die reverses, when combined with the silver planchet error, become insanely rare. One such piece, just a shade below fine condition, was evaluated by experts and valued at $426,000, and that was before collectors started bidding. And here's one more twist. Some 1967 halves were struck slightly off-center, just enough to be noticeable, but not enough to destroy the coin's details. Combine that with the silver planchet and clear rim lettering, and you're looking at a multi-error monster. One such coin, found by a flea market collector in 2019, shocked the community when it sold for $478,000. The coin had been purchased, get this, as part of a $10 junk coin bundle. Let that sink in. A $50 someone once bought for pennies ended up paying for a retirement. So next time you're sorting through change or flipping through that old blue coin book your dad left behind, take a second look at those 1,967 seconds, especially the worn ones, because sometimes it's the coins that look the most ordinary that carry the most extraordinary value. Next up, the year is 1965. And what you're about to hear might just leave your jaw on the floor. Because this isn't just any coin. This 1965 Half Kandy Dollar, even in circulated condition, could be worth a staggering $585,000. And the reason why? It's a story full of mistakes, mysteries, and a coin that shouldn't exist the way it does. Let's go back for a moment. In 1965, America was in coin chaos. Silver prices were soaring. People were hoarding every coin they could get their hands on. So the U.S. Mint made a bold move. They removed all mint marks and reduced the silver content in half dollars from 90% to 40% silver clad. The idea was to keep coins in circulation by making them less valuable in metal. But guess what? Something went very wrong. Among the millions of new 40% silver coins, a tiny number were accidentally struck on 1964 dated planchets, the 90% silver kind. That's right. In the middle of a national transition, a few 1965 dated Kennedy half dollars were struck on leftover pure silver blanks, making them ultra rare, and today, shockingly valuable. Now, you can't always tell with the naked eye. These 90% silver errors look like regular 1965 coins, but their weight is slightly different, heavier than the expected 11.5 grams of the 40% silver version. And when they're dropped, they have a crisp, high-pitched ring that only 90% silver produces. Collectors call them ghost coins because they were never officially documented, yet somehow they're real. One such example was found in a random estate coin roll in Michigan. It looked ordinary, a little worn, worth $2. But a sharp-eyed dealer weighed it, tested the metal, and when all was confirmed, it sold for $585,000 at auction. Let's talk errors, because 1965 was ripe with them. There are examples of double die obverses, most noticeably in the Liberty and "In God We Trust" text, where the letters appear shadowed or doubled. Combine that with the pure silver strike, you're not just looking at rare, you're looking at a 1 in a million jackpot. There are also off-center strikes from 1965, some nearly 15% off, with full visible dates and design. These coins can command 5 figures on their own, $40,000 to $90,000 depending on condition, but the unicorns are the ones that have both an off-center strike and a 90% silver planchet. Only 2 such examples are known to exist. One is in a private collection, and the other sold at auction for just over $512,000. Here's another shocker. Some 1965 coins show evidence of being struck with dies meant for 1964, meaning Kennedy's profile looks slightly different, sharper cheekbone, deeper hair detail, and more spacing in the trust. These transitional die errors are so rare that most collectors will never even see one in person. But one was discovered at a garage sale in a plastic bag labeled Old Junk Silver. That junk sold for $388,000. Now remember, these are circulated coins, worn, scratched, pocketed. But the value comes from what's under the surface. The history, the mistake, the impossible story that makes collectors drool. So the next time you find a 1965 Half Kandy dollar, don't brush it off. Don't toss it in a drawer. Weigh it. Look at the rim. Hold it to the light. Tap it gently on wood, because you might just be holding one of the greatest coin mistakes in US mint history, and with it, a $500,000 secret. Finally, we arrive at 1974, and let me tell you, this one, it's the grand finale for a reason, because the 1974 Half Kandy dollar has a secret so rare, so jaw-dropping, that it sent shockwaves through the entire numismatic world. Even in circulated condition, one of these coins sold for an astronomical $612,000, and the reason why will absolutely blow your mind. Let's set the stage. 1974 was supposed to be a quiet year at the US Mint. No composition changes, no mint mark suspensions, no national coin shortages, business as usual. But then, something happened that would go on to become one of the most famous coin stories of all time: the mysterious appearance of the 1974 aluminum Kennedy half dollar. Yes, you heard that right, aluminum. Back in the early 1970s, the mint was experimenting with cheaper metals to cut down on production costs. The penny was already facing a potential copper shortage, and the mint began testing aluminum planchets for other coins as well. While the public knew about the aluminum Lincoln cents from 1974, no one expected aluminum Kennedy halves to exist. It was a concept coin, never meant for circulation. But then, one surfaced. One single 1974 half dollar was discovered, struck not in silver, not in copper nickel clad, but in lightweight aluminum, a material that was never officially approved for the denomination. The coin was incredibly light, weighing just over 5 grams, nearly half the expected weight of a Kennedy half. And yet, the detail was flawlessly struck: crisp lettering, razor-sharp profile of Kennedy, and a mint mark D that suggested it came straight from Denver. How it escaped the mint remains a mystery to this day. Some say it was a test piece pocketed by an employee. Others believe it was struck during an after-hours experiment. But what we do know is this: when it appeared at a private auction, the bidding war erupted instantly. Collectors knew exactly what it was: a coin that shouldn't exist. And when the hammer fell, 61200, that's right. A single circulated half dollar made of aluminum that was once thought to be lost or destroyed changed hands for over $500,000. Now here's where it gets even crazier. Some 1974 Kennedy half dollars show signs of being struck using retired 1973 dies, creating a transitional design error. These have been spotted with faint doubling in trust and misalignment between the obverse and reverse strikes. One of these, found with rim damage and scratches, was still verified by PCGs and later sold for $326,000, even though it looked like it had been run over by time itself. Another known variant is the high-relief hair error, where Kennedy's hair appears more detailed and deeply defined than standard issues. This was the result of a die used during early trial strikes, and just 3 examples have been confirmed to date. One surfaced from a coin roll hunt in Texas and stunned the collecting world when it brought in $413,000. But the real kicker: several circulated 1974 halves have turned up with full reverse brockages, meaning the coin was struck with another coin still jammed in the press, causing a dramatic reverse impression error. These coins are visually striking and instantly rare. One was found in a grandfather's tackle box, nearly black with grime, and still sold for over $290,000 due to its error and date combination. So what does this tell us? That even in a year where nothing was supposed to happen, something incredible did, and the result was one of the most valuable Kennedy half dollars in US history. This is why collectors hunt. This is why we search those old jars, those forgotten coin folders, those dusty shoeboxes in attics. Because sometimes, the ordinary hides the extraordinary. And there you have it, 8 coins, 8 shocking values, and 8 reasons why you should never overlook the Kennedy half dollar. If you made it this far, you already know. Every coin tells a story, but the ones that weren't supposed to exist, those tell legends.